and kind of look at them and kind of decode them. So when we're looking at Christianity, it primarily consists of the Bible. And so your practice and your work usually revolves around the Bible, Jesus, and God. And so there's certain principles and there's certain doctrines that are within religion. And, the idea is that if you live by these principles, you can become a better person. You can become a more holy person that is more closely connected to God. And if you do everything right, you have a place in heaven for you when you pass away. And if you don't follow, the religion, if you don't follow the principles within the Bible and the 10 Commandments or whatever, then you will be damned eternally in hell. And so that brings up the idea of duality, so that there's a good and there's an evil. And so typically that's a split in reality. Good versus evil. Angels versus demons. And so, like religious people, they're part of one category, and then there's spiritual people who are kind of in the middle, where they don't fully have a full understanding of what this is all about and this reality is all about. And so they will be taking principles from Christianity and applying them in some sort of spiritual way. And so, then we have Satanism, which is just completely different. It's on a whole different paradigm, whole different reality. And so we have a split in consciousness. So the spiritual people understand the concept that we are all one. Have you ever heard that concept? We are all one, which means that we're just all interconnected. We're all part of one large entity known as Source. And we're all just from this ball of light, and we're just little splits of consciousness, portions of consciousness that goes off into the grander scale of the universe. And so we're interconnected with everything. We're interconnected with the stars, with the planets, with other people. We're all connected. We're literally all one. And so when we understand that concept, we're all one, then what is the devil? What is Satan? Does that mean he is separate from us? Or does that mean he is a part of us? Because if we're all one, which means we're interconnected with everything, we are nothing, but we are everything. As a soul, we are everything. There's nothing that can be separate from the source. You can live in the illusion of separation, which is what the human existence is, the illusion of separation, but you cannot be separate. That's just not possible. You cannot be separate because we're literally in a soup of energy, and this energy is just all interconnected with everything. And so what is the devil? The devil is part of the yin and the yang. So with the yin and the yang, we understand there's a perfect balance. We have the dark and we have the light. We have the yin, we have the yang. We have the masculine, we have the feminine. There's a perfect harmony within the cosmic scale of the universe. There's a perfect harmony. From a religious perspective, a Christianity perspective, they believe that there's a war going on. There's a war between angels versus demons. There's a war between, whatever, God versus the devil. And we're just caught in the middle of all that, apparently, as humans. We're just right there in the middle, as these two mega entities are just fighting against each other. We're just like, what do I do? I guess, save me, God, please save me, or whatever. And so what is the primary difference between Christianity and Satanism? Well, this is the biggest factor. Are you ready? Fear. With Christianity and religion, it is completely governed by fear. the fear of going to hell, the fear of not abiding by your Father God's rules, the fear of not following the principles of the Bible, the fear of sinning, the fear of not pleasing God, the fear of not being accepted by God, the fear of not being accepted by those around you. And that is a wound that has been instilled in the matrix, where we must seek acceptance from this outside character, because apparently he's separate from us. The ultimate teaching within the Bible is that God is within you. God is within you. He's not this character that is just telling you what to do and you must be accepted by him. That's just another concept called having a parental wound, where all you wanted to do was be accepted by your parents. But they never would accept you only when you do things the right way, only when you got good grades, only when you did what they said. They accepted you. And that's the same concept within religion, is that we are afraid to not be accepted by God. And so that fear is what drives you. And so you have a fear of darkness. You have a fear of evil. You have a fear of going to hell. Let me look at Satanism. Where's the fear? There is no fear within this. It's ultimate liberation and awakening your power within you. There's no fear. You don't fear God. We don't fear the devil. We don't fear anything. There's no fear that's being driven within this field of Satanism. You could call it the left-hand path, Luciferianism, whatever. The darker path, the occult path, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's no fear, because in this paradigm, it teaches you ultimate liberation, finding the power within your heart, finding the power within you, and being able to face those fears even when the matrix has told you otherwise. So if you're so powerful, why can't you face your deepest fear? Why can't you face the devil? If you're so powerful, you should be able to do that. And so it's when you face your fears, what's on the other side of that? Your power and liberation. And so we use fear as an excuse to not deepen our soul, deepen the connection with ourselves. And so, the idea, it's funny, because this whole idea of like Satanism and rituals and the occult, it just has accumulated such a bad name because people associate that with cults and animal sacrifice, human sacrifice, all this crazy stuff. And that's usually what you think of when you think of the occult. You think of evil, they're doing black magic to hurt people. And yeah, I'm sure that there has been people that have done that, just as there is people in high-ranking areas within the government that use religion as a means of leverage. If you've ever seen the movie or the show called The Family on Netflix, I haven't watched the whole thing, but to my knowledge, that's what is taking place, is that they're using the idea of Jesus for leveraging power. And so you can use any force for good or bad. It's just like coming back to the idea of having a gun. You have a gun. The gun doesn't kill people. It's just an object that sits on a table. The human that comes can use the gun, which is a tool, to save somebody's life, which is like a police officer. Your life can literally be saved with this gun. Or you can use it for crime. You can use it to harm people. And so that's the same thing with religion, with knowledge, and with, black magic. You can use it for good. It doesn't matter. Just because you've You're studying the idea of black magic. Why? Because you want to understand yourself more. Why? Because you want to jump into something that everybody said was evil and bad, but maybe there's more to it. Because most of us, we go about our lives based on what somebody told you. We don't study it more. We don't look into it more. We just base our life perspective on what somebody told you. And we don't go further. And that's just human nature. So if the news says this person is terrible, I'll just give you an example. So we got Bobby Kennedy. He's the guy that's going to be trying to run for the next president. Well, the media was bashing him, saying he's a conspiracy theorist, he's this and that. And so Joe Rogan, he kept seeing that. So he was like, yeah, he must be like off his rocker, or something. Like, I don't even want to talk to him. And then he met the guy, and he was like, holy crap, like, you're one of the most genuine people I've ever met. And, like, you have knowledge that literally blows my mind right now because it makes sense. And so somebody can take an idea and they can mold it to their own, and then they can influence people's perspectives on certain things. And so what Joe Rogan did was, like, he didn't even look into it. He didn't even look into JFK. He didn't study it more. He just read a news article, and then he was like, all right, that's my opinion on him. And he held that opinion until he met the guy. So think about that. Break that down. What things are we holding in our field that we didn't even agree to? We just read something and we're just subconsciously like, oh, that must be bad. I'm just going to stay away from it. Oh, that must be evil. I'm not going to put any further thought into it. I'm just going to be away from that. But when we begin to sit down and we tune into our emotions and we tune into ourselves, that's when we can begin to open up our heart and we can dive into our heart and explore the endless ocean of what we truly are. Because we're not using fear to ridicule parts of ourselves. We're not using fear to split aspects of our consciousness off. Because as humans, we're everything. We're heaven and hell. We're all eternal souls on a fucking game within a game called life. And we all, when we die, we pass on to a different dimension, a dimension where we originate from. Hell exists. Anything you can possibly think of, it exists within the universe. Why? Because it's infinite. There's infinite versions of you in parallel realities of anything you can imagine. There's a parallel reality where you're driving a Ferrari and on a mansion somewhere, and there's a reality where you're maybe homeless. I mean, the universe is absolutely infinite, and it's so infinite to where we as humans aren't able to comprehend the capacity of what the universe is actually. And so that's what most people do when they hear the term Lucifer, when they hear the term demon. We immediately are like, whoa, fuck, damn, you're working with demons? What the hell, dude? That's weird. Because they've never looked into it further with an open mind and an open heart. They've just based their perspectives based on what other people have told them. And that's the concept of the occult. And it's okay, because the occult means hidden, and so it's hidden within all of us. This is aspects of our DNA that is hidden within all of us. And I believe it's for good reason. It's hidden for a reason. Why? Because it is one of the deepest paths that you can go on, because you uncover the deepest aspects of your soul. You go headfirst into your trauma. You go headfirst into your DNA, your ancestral trauma, everything. And you unravel it all. You explore things and parts of yourself you never knew you had because they existed within the deepest aspects of your shadow. And what is your shadow? Your shadow is closely related to demonic energy. And so when we're within a Christian mindset or a love and light mindset, typically when we look at the idea of good versus evil, we ridicule the idea of evil or demons. So we're splitting off an aspect of ourselves. We're orally making a contract that I am not going to deal with my shadow. We just made a contract that we're not going to do the deeper work because I can now scapegoat myself. So this is the entire religious program, is that you are sacrificing yourself. You just agreed to put yourself into a system where you will now sacrifice your trauma and you will sacrifice your inner child to fall into a system where you don't have to do the deeper work. You don't have to do the deeper emotional trauma healing. And so with the occult, you're opening up all the doors to yourself and you're forced to embrace it because these parts of yourself are held within hell. It's literally held within the Qliphoth. So when we're looking at the Kabbalistic tree, it's a science, really. And so we have the tree of life, Sephiroth, and we have the Qliphoth, which is the tree of death. And we live in heaven and we live in hell. It's just embracing both aspects of the universe, both aspects of reality. And most of the time, our soul is held within hell, within the Qliphoth, because of the traumas, because of the things that we've gone through, because of people telling you you can't do whatever you want, because of people telling you you can't be free, you can't have an open heart, you can't, love people in a certain way. And so you as life goes on, you begin to close up more and more and more, and this barrier of a shell begins to build stronger and stronger and stronger until you become completely closed off. So if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, where Neo, he's literally in it like a bubble or a shell, and these demons are just feeding off of everybody. That's exactly what's taking place within this Matrix, is when you become so shelled off, your soul is just a battery pack for the Matrix. And so what feeds on you? Demonic energy. Demonic energy will always be feeding on those who can't face themselves, who are driven by fear. And so that's why Christianity and religion and all these different things, they are always so gung-ho about fighting the evil, fighting the demons, because their shadow is literally like, hi, what about me? Hello? Like, this is you. You're sacrificing yourself. And it's just, it is what it is. You can do what you want to do, but that's the truth at the end of the day. And so Satanism, Luciferianism, occultism is all about embracing yourself, all parts of yourself, fearlessly. No fear. Because if you want to get to where you want to be in life and you want to develop psychic powers and abilities and an extreme self-understanding, you're going to have to put fear away. And you're going to have to delve straight in. And you're going to have to deal with all the thoughts of like, if I invoke a demon, what does that mean? Am I going to be possessed? Am I going to be taken over by evil? You're going to have to deal with those fears. Because why? Because they are linked with an emotion. So when we have a fear, all it is a trapped emotion. And you can dive into the fear by doing what you fear the most. And once you dive into the fear, you're like, oh shit, damn, this is not what everybody said, and holy crap, wow. And then you open up the trauma, you got to deal with it, and you got to process it, but then you can embrace it, and then you just unlocked. You just took a layer of the shell off, and with each layer, you begin to embrace life more, and you can experience the love and the beauty that's all around you, and you can actually awaken ultimate power within yourself, and you can do things you never thought you could do. If you were afraid of all these different things and you just have all these different issues and problems. When you really begin to go inward, you can unlock and unravel all these different things within yourself, and you can become a person where you're doing things you never thought you would have ever done. And so, like, for example, for me, when I invoked the tree of death and began working with the demonic aspects of the universe, I have experienced things I've never experienced before. And a lot of people think like, oh, it's a quick way to get money or some shit. You sell your soul for fame and fortune. That's just a movie idea. That doesn't work like that. That's just some idea that was created in a movie, and now we're all like, yeah, everyone in Hollywood, they're just so evil. You want to know what it actually is? It's just a lack of understanding. It's a lack of self-awareness. And so they're just led into doing all these inverted things, and again, self-sacrificing themselves, but they don't actually understand what the occult is about at the end of the day. And so they may be using it in inverted ways, but that's also creating the adversary. So whatever they're producing in Hollywood is creating the adversary on a mass collective level. And so most people, if you're religious, you guys are watching Netflix, you guys are watching these movies, these TV shows. They're all produced out of the demonic Hollywood. And everything within Hollywood is magic. They're using black magic through their whatever they're producing, the music videos, the music, the movies, the TV shows, everything. That's why it's called Hollywood, because the magicians used to use branches off the holly tree to cast spells. And so, you're still observing this demonic stuff that is having a deep impact on yourself. And so, yeah, I mean, that's when you get into the hypocrisy of certain things. It's like, you're so religious, but, you're watching this demonic TV show. You're watching this demonic movie, which is casting spells on you, And so, from my perspective, I can do whatever I want. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and, harm people. I don't harm people. I am on this journey for self-development and a deeper self-understanding. And I'm here to share this knowledge with those who are ready for it. And I have a good heart. I don't ever want to harm anybody. I would never do to others what I would not do to myself. And because I understand that on this path of the occult, it's the ultimate goal really is about unlocking the power of your inner child. And so the inner child is interconnected with the source. And so that vulnerable energy, you can influence your world and magnetize everything you want into your life when you're the embodiment of the inner child. It's like this vulnerable energy that has basically power over everything. It's not an energy of manipulation. It's not an energy of anger. It's not an energy of fear. It's like that ultimate soul's vulnerability that can just magnetize everything in. And your outside world will reflect that. And there's zero fear involved on this path. It's like ultimate, cutthroat, straight to the point. And not everybody is ready for the occult path, obviously. That's why it's called the occult, otherwise known as hidden. Because it is so intense when it comes to really facing and unraveling everything people told us. All this religious programming, unraveling it all, then returning back to the nothing, returning back to the perfect energy that exists within you, where you become nothing. You become egoless, you become maskless, and you return to that void space. And from there, that's when an authentic version of you, poof, is born. But it can only happen when you've gone to the depths of your own personal hell. You see, everything in this reality is internal. There's nothing happening outside of us. No one thing or person is separate from us. God isn't up there. The devil isn't out there. Everything is within you. And everything is showing us something about ourselves. So what does God reflect to us? What does the devil reflect to us? When we think of the devil, how do we feel? What are these people reflecting back to us? What is my outside life reflecting back to us? To me. Because it's called the mirror verse for a reason. We live in the mirror verse. Everything is you. And everything outside of you is you. What's outside of you is the subconscious mind. So we live in the sea space of the subconscious mind, and we can learn to influence our reality by changing our internal state and using different practices. And so I am on a strict mission of self-development and evolution because I could not live the average human existence. And I've sifted through all these different beliefs, all these different religious structures. I've sifted through all these paradigms and all these ideas. I've even lived them out. Then I've had an ego death. And then I've been reborn into it, to learning and taking on new perspectives. And I've done that hundreds of times. Where you take this path and you apply everything it shows you. And then you're like, damn, something's missing. So you end up dying to that path on a spiritual level. And then you attract or manifest a completely new perspective in. So that also goes into the idea of there is no truth. Truth technically is an illusion. Because truth is always changing. Because there's not one truth. What's working for you now may not work for you in 3 months, may not work for you in 6 months. And it can be frustrating because we try to hold on to a truth, which is like a religious belief or an occult belief. And we try to take this truth and we try to put it on us like it's on our ego, because now we're holding on to this truth. And now I'm forming my identity with this truth. I am religious. You must rebuke the demon. You must wear a cross. I'm bringing in a priest. That's your identity. That's showing signs of an identity. So you've manipulated this idea of perspective, and now you've applied it to your identification of the self. And so now you're using it in inverted ways, trying to change other people, but in reality, you're just trying to change yourself because you're unwilling to. You're trying to change the reflection in the mirror. It's as simple as that. And so once we understand that, we can live a much more fulfilled life because we can let go, we can surrender completely, we can let go of all ideas of the truth, and we can return to the nothing state. And the nothing state can be painful in the beginning because we can't hold on to anything. There's nothing that we can hold on to. And it sucks, but that is like rapid growth. How long are you able to stay in that void space of the nothingness? And it's not easy to be in the void, but it shapes you as an individual and it humbles you greatly. And it creates so much more room for massive amounts of knowledge and experience in your life. And so, is there any other things I want to touch on this subject? Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I know regardless if there is going to be any religious people on here, typically they don't sit down and just listen to it. You know, they're always trying to find something to argue, because they can't let go of their ideas of self. They can't let go of these ideas, because why? Because it's attached to their identity. Because now they've formed this identity of, oh, I'm a Christian and I do these things, and anything outside of that I have to fight because it threatens my identity. Why the hell are you holding on to that so hard? Why can't you just let go and embrace true universal knowledge within yourself? Just let go. Surrender. You know, not everybody is willing to do that, and that's okay. But we're all having our own divine experiences here on earth. I don't bash Christians. I don't bash religion. I don't bash anything, because I know it's a reflection of myself. I love everything to the best of my ability. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you found value in it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content to come your way.